back from the ad break. You are still watching Prime Life. Up next, it's a beautiful Monday, and we do have Mr. Jabu Zwane on our screens with some Monday motivation to get you through the week. Thank you so much for joining us, Jabu, on Prime Life, and welcome. We can hear
Yes,
you.
thank you so much for welcome. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much for being on Prime Life. Please do take over.
Thanks so much, Aisha. Good evening and welcome to Monday Motivation. Yes, my name is Jabu Zwane. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you are having a good Monday. It's been a very cold Monday, and as you can hear, unfortunately, the cold also caught me along with that cold that we've been dealing with. And I'm sure that you may have heard already that you must prepare yourselves here in South Africa for another cold front that may be coming in the next coming days. So it doesn't seem like we're going to be seeing any, experiencing any warmth long term for a while. Be warm and be good. So this evening, I want to talk to you a little bit about something I've shared with you before, but I want to just give it a bit of a different twist. Let me start off by opening up with a story. Opening up with a story. I'm sure some of you may have heard about this story before. It's a story about two young men. There's a mention about two young men who were both raised by a father who was an alcoholic and abusive. One of the young men grew up to become highly successful, with somebody who did not drink and who actually raised a very good family and was a great husband. And the other one went on to become an alcoholic like the father, a bit abusive like him as well. Pardon me. And then when both of them were asked what happened, why is it they turned out the way that they did, both of them said the same answer. They both said that we were raised by an abusive and alcoholic father. And what that tells us is the following, that people can be in the same situation, they can experience similar things, they may seemingly be going through the same things, but they don't go through the same things the same way. But ultimately, regardless of what has happened to us, it is important that we take the lessons and that we make wise decisions based on the information that we have gathered. That we are never 100% victims. Now, I've shared many times that mindsets are structured categories of thinking that lead to an outcome, whether you are aware of it or not. That at the end of the day, our lives or outcomes in our lives are based on how we think, where our thoughts begin, how they form eventually, and eventually yielding the fruits. I've said this many times that you must always think of your mind as a garden and what you're planting in there. But tonight, I want you to think about this, that you cannot be able to change what you are not aware of, and you won't change what you don't acknowledge, and whatever it is that you're busy ignoring. It is one thing to realize that you need a change in your life and to admit it, but it is another to fully understand whatever change that you need to have happen in your life. Let's say that you've been working for the last couple of 5 years and you've been trying to get promoted, but it's not been coming forth, and you don't know what it is that you're doing incorrectly. If you don't take the time to understand, to get feedback from the people that, for example, have been interviewing you, for them to give you some feedback regarding what you're not doing, not getting right, and what you can improve on, you might find yourself in the same position for the next 5 years. Or if you're running a business, maybe your business has failed multiple times, but every single time, you never take the time to sit down and understand what you're doing wrong. If you don't do that, take stock of what you can improve, what you're not getting right, you're going to find yourself repeating the same mistakes over and over and over again. And I want to share with you this evening just some of the steps that you can follow to ensure that you don't find yourself in situations where you're repeating the same mistakes, you don't know what you're doing wrong, and you're wasting a lot of time, effort, and money. The first one is it's always too crucial to exercise awareness, and that is to see whatever is not very easily visible. Every mindset operates in a framework, and awareness is the beginning of that understanding. So the question that you must ask yourself, let's say if you've been failing, even if it's a sports person or a worker, an entrepreneur, or whatever it is that you role that you're involved with, is what thoughts dominate you every day? When you think about your performance, when you think about your abilities, do you believe in yourself? Do you believe in your abilities? Do you believe that you can be able to achieve what you are set out to do? Great. If you believe, do you have the knowledge? Do you have the tools? Do you have the resources? Are you in the right environment? Is it the right time that you are currently doing what you're doing? And an answer to all of those questions can help you to better understand your positioning as far as potential success. If you are in the right environment and your timing is right and you've got the resources and you've not the knowledge, and then you have the right people around you, if all of that is in place, that obviously improves. But if it's not, then it is important for you to say, okay, great. If I don't have the right people around me, then who do I need around me? If I'm not in the right environment, which environments must I place myself under to be able to do better than what I'm currently doing? And then the other thing is, in terms of resources, if you don't have those resources, these days, there are many online. There are also places where you can be able to get those resources. And it's important to do a little bit of research. The second thing is that it's important to reposture your mind. Now, reposturing is important. Why? Because you cannot fix the problems that you've created with the same mindset that created them. You cannot fix the problems that you have created with the same mindset. You cannot fix them with the same mindset that created them. You would have to change it. You'd have to reposture. And your mindset posture is about changing different positions. Instead of always looking at something from the point of you being an entrepreneur or you being the one that wants to succeed, whatever the case might be, try and assume a different posture and think, if I were on the other side, what would I do differently? If I were a consumer, what would make it harder for me to buy the product? I say this all the time to to entrepreneurs who are struggling with sales. If you were the consumer, would you buy your product? And if you would not, why would you not buy it? If you would, why would you buy it? And then I always ask the question, the things that make it easier for you to sell the product, are they clearly visible to the consumer? Are they within their view? Are they within their comprehension? Are they also within their reach? If that is not if that is not so, then you are in trouble. It's important to ask those questions again and to repost yourself. You know, sometimes we stay with the same people in the same environment for far too long, and then we close ourselves off from seeing things differently. So that's what reposturing is you take a different position and you try to look at things from different positions and understand from different people's point of view. Number three, it's important then to declutter your mind. A poorly developed mindset suffers from most of the time what I call a fragmented mindset, a fragmented thought syndrome. And fragmented thinking is like when something is not fully built up. There are holes, there are gaps. It doesn't really hold. You know, if you try to put water in there, something's fragmented or cracked, it won't be able to hold water, or it won't be able to hold something as strong as it should. So it's important to see what are the gaps in some of your own ways of thinking. You know, neuro linguistic programming, they talk about pattern disruption or pattern interruption. And this is where you intentionally identify and remove irrelevant, destructive, hindering habits out of your way. If you know, for example, that you tend to postpone, why is it that you postpone? You tend to delay. If you know that you tend to rush, why do you rush? If you know that you tend to over consult, for example, and you're never comfortable once you get to a certain point, why do you do that? And then disrupting that once you understand. I know that if I'm not fully comfortable with how much knowledge I've gathered, I tend to over consult, you know, and especially if it's something new that I'm not very good at. I tend to not trust myself and I tend to over consult. And in the end, I can find myself caught up between too many opinions that in the end don't help me to start or don't give me the information that I need. I know that I've shared this before, but the Japanese have something that they call a 40-70 rule. And a 40-70 rule basically means this. If you've got less than 40% of the information, you don't have enough, you're guessing. If you've got more than 70% of information, you've got way too much. It may be delaying and postponing unnecessarily, but the balance is right between 40 and 70. That in between there, you've got more than enough for you to make the decision. And most of the times, anyway, decisions we've got to make are based on faith, because we'll never have 100% all information. So it's important to make that have that understanding. Number four, it's important that once you've got all the information, to reorganize. Perhaps the way that you packaged your product, the way that you packaged your pitch, the way that you packaged your presentation, the way that you packaged even your brand, if you're a brand that is positioned differently, was not in line with what whoever it is that you're trying to sell to, whoever it is that you're trying to persuade, whoever it is that you're trying to convince, maybe it wasn't lined up with that, even to yourself as well. So transformation requires order. And sometimes to get that order, it basically means that we have to declutter and get rid of whatever is not supposed to be there. It may mean sometimes destroying whatever is not supposed to be there, and then rebuilding whatever needs to be there. You must restructure your thoughts, your beliefs, and emotional responses to have a central purpose. And then in NLP, this is what they call basically anchoring. And then lastly, it's important then to redirect. And in redirection, basically, that's where then you channel everything that you've learned to achieve what you want. There's so much more I can be able to share with you this evening. But thank you so much for tuning in and for listening to Monday Motivation. I hope you got something that can be helpful to you, and enjoy the rest of your programming. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jabu. I mean, that was a wonderful Monday motivation. Viewers at home, I hope you really, really took inspiration and motivation to get through this entire week. And I hope Jabu Zwane can join us next week, Monday, to fuel us up for the week yet again. But without wasting any time, let's go to a quick break. We'll see you right after this.